Okay, so we are going to start talking about my favorite book. We're going to start talking about the book Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DiCamillo. Okay, it is a great book. It is a dog book, but it's not a sad dog book, so we don't have to be worried this time. There are a few sad things that happen in it, but nothing compared to what we've read so far this year. So we're ending on a happy note this year. Okay. Some of the big characters in our book, and yes, that is the movie cover. So yes, there's a movie. Yes, we will watch the movie. But some of our big characters is Opal. She's our main character. She's 10-year-old protagonist and main character of the story. She is very outspoken and very smart. So protagonist, remember, pro means they're the good person in the story, which there's not an antagonist for this one. But she is the protagonist. She's good. And she is the main character of the story that the story follows. And she is also our our narrator, our person who's telling our story. So, and then there's Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie is a shaggy stray dog that is found by Opal and one of the main characters. He is mischievous and cunning and very loving, which means he does some things that get him into a lot of trouble. He's really smart and he can get away with a lot of things. But he's very loving and he loves anyone and everyone that love him back. Then there is the preacher. She calls him the preacher, but that's her dad, preacher or daddy. Depends on when she's talking about him. And this is Opal's dad, who is a preacher. And she calls him preacher sometimes. Sometimes she calls him dad. It just depends. He's very kind and very caring. And he takes care of Opal on his own. Okay? So he is a single dad that takes care of Opal on his own. And we get to find out a little bit more about his background and her background and all those things, how they come to be as we read this story. And we'll learn a lot of it today. The setting of our story. This takes place in Naomi, Florida during the 1980s or 1990s, somewhere in that time period. It's a very small town where everyone knows everyone else. It is not a real town in Florida. It is a made-up town just for the book, but it's supposed to be kind of like a small town, so it would look similar, like to this. It's very, very small. It's supposed to be very, very small, like smaller than Center. So, it takes place in Naomi, Florida. So it's really, think about it's really hot. They have a lot of bad weather because, they have a lot of hurricanes and things that come through Florida. So keep that in mind as we are reading to think about the setting of our story. And then I want you to look at your book. And I want you to look at the back of the book and read what it says. It's a heartwarming fairy tale or family tale from America's beloved storyteller, because she's a very beloved storyteller. And I want you to read that little passage on the back, even read the little quote. Okay, some of you noticed on Friday that this book is one of our Newbery Award medal winners, which means it's a really, really good book. It's a really famous book, and most of our books this year have been Newbery Award winning books. I think the only one we have not read that has not been one was Holes. And we talked about how we weren't sure how that one didn't get one. But read the back of your book. Okay. And it gives you a little bit of an overview of what you're going to be expecting. But this is what Winn-Dixie is supposed to kind of look like. So keep that in mind as you're reading. That's similar to what he's supposed to look like. Whenever you've read the back of your book, go ahead and turn to chapter 1 in your book and listen to the chapter 1 and chapter 2 videos and read chapter 1 and 2. And then you have a little bit of a activity sheet to work on when you're done.